Nangong Yi crossed the Rune Continent and was chased by Attokus after being spotted by him. He had no choice but to climb the giant divine peak, but upon reaching the summit, Attokus was the one who welcomed him. After being chopped to death, he then crossed to the Douluo Continent. Atorx still chased after him, but he became his own martial soul. Artocks. Hello, I am Artocks. I am an extraordinary celestial being trapped in a knife. What is your surname? Nangong Yi said, Hey, isn't this Attox? It's been a few days since we last saw each other like this. Attox. Tang San said, Take my mother's soul bones and even my fairy grass. Even my little dance. You already have a way to take death. Shura. Disrupting my deployment on Douluo Continent and destroying the heir I have chosen, you have a way to die. Nangong Yi. Do you think you can kill me? Artos. Do you think you can kill me? I used to have another name, but now we are dark descendants. We are God Slayer. Keywords of the novel. Man in Douluo, Martial Soul Atox without pop-ups, Man in Douluo, Martial Soul Atox Complete Collection Download TXT, Man in Douluo, Martial Soul Atox Latest Chapter Reading. Chapter 1. Listening, The Death of Extinction. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Listening, The Death of Extinction Douluo Continent, Martial Soul City. The annual Martial Soul Awakening ceremony is underway at the Martial Soul Square. Under the guidance of the orphanage teacher, young children with immature faces were queuing up, looking eagerly ahead of the line. Children, don't be nervous later, just listen to the bishop's arrangements. The teacher at the orphanage cautioned. Yes, Xen. The children obediently responded, eagerly anticipating what kind of martial soul they would awaken. At the end of the team, a boy with blue hair and a significantly higher appearance than those around him had a calm expression. Nangong Yi. He is a melancholic traveler. Douluo Continent was not his first stop. I remember not long ago, he was still climbing the giant god peak in the Rune Continent. Of course, he didn't voluntarily climb that haunted place. He didn't know how long he had climbed, after all, the giant god peak was full of uncertainty. He only knew that he had climbed for a long time, and his luck seemed to be good. He saw the legendary twinkling stars and dust in the air, and it is said that in that situation, mortals may have obtained power from the heavenly realm. Just as he stood up straight, wanting to see the stars in front of him clearly, a sword fell down, and then, listen, extinct, dead silence. Mad. Recalling the murderous shout, Nangong Yi couldn't help but curse out. Attox. His reward for reaching the summit of the giant god peak was actually Attox. How could the dark descendant run to the giant god peak? Did he still encounter it? And isn't that the mountaintop? How did Attox get to the mountaintop? I can't understand. Xiaoyi, don't curse. The orphanage teacher standing behind Nangong Yi interrupted with a word. I didn't, you heard me wrong. Nangong Yi turned her head and stopped speaking. After being chopped to death by Attox, he crossed over again and arrived at Douluo Continent. His body was only 3 years old, probably chopped up by that bastard Attox. Then, as if he had woken up in the forest, he was met by Bibidong, who had gone out to hunt for soul rings. Seeing a child covered in blood at the time, he was easily rescued and placed in the orphanage of the Martial Soul City. Nangong Yi, a current member of the Martial Soul City Orphanage, has been on the organization for 2.5 years. This is his current identity. Alright, it's almost your turn, cheer up. The orphanage teacher patted Nangong Yi's head. What's the use of cheering up? Nangong Yi murmured in a low voice. The awakening of the martial soul in Douluo Continent is based on bloodline inheritance, and he is not even a person from this world. Whether he can awaken his martial soul is another question. Moreover, most of the children in the orphanage were collected by the law enforcement team of the Martial Soul City from various places. The people here either became orphans due to evil soul masters, or became orphans due to the brief conflict between the two empires. They also had bad luck and fought with powerful soul masters, and were spared. That is to say, the children in the orphanage are uneven, and occasionally lucky enough to awaken high-level martial souls and high-level soul power. They are favored by the bishops and elders of the Martial Soul Hall and are accepted as disciples. But this probability is similar to running a lottery. However, it is precisely because of the excitement of opening lottery tickets that the annual Martial Soul Awakening ceremony in Martial Soul City attracts many influential figures. For example, sitting on the high platform of the square, the current pope of the Martial Soul Hall, Bibidong. Bibidong is not tall, with a golden long dress that fits perfectly from head to toe. The dazzling dress sparkles with over 100 red, blue, and gold gemstones on top. The 9-curved purple gold crown on top of the head is even more dazzling, holding a scepter about 2 meters long, inlaid with countless gemstones. Her fair skin and almost perfect appearance make her look so unique. Noticing Nangong Yi's gaze, Bibi nodded with a smile on the east side. Bibidong has always been approachable to the outside world, especially for children. Don't look, it's your turn. The team leader gave Nangong Yi another blow to his head. This child was personally handed over to him by the Pope at the time, although he never spoke to him later. However, at that time, this child was covered in blood and should have experienced some bad things. It's not even attractive anymore. Nangong Yi scratched her head and walked up the awakening platform with a lack of interest, standing in the center of the awakening formation. He has never had confidence in his luck. So, awakening something is not important. Once you come, be content with it. Even without awakening his martial soul, he has enough strength to survive in this world. The bishop in charge of this awakening ceremony looked at the little brat pulling in front of him, and a strange feeling arose in his heart. Is this kid really an orphan? This kind of image and temperament looks like a fallen aristocrat, right? Don't look, get down to business, Nangong Yi urged. The bishop's face froze, and the leading teacher below the awakening platform's corner of the eye twitched wildly. Good kid. Can you restrain yourself a bit? This is a red bishop at the soul saint level. Cough, isn't it attractive enough to be seen? The bishop coughed lightly, but didn't get angry, just assumed it was childlike innocence. After all, this child is indeed quite cute. Alright, relax. After speaking, the red bishop infused his soul power into the awakening formation, and something similar to the 6-star formation on the ground suddenly shone brightly in time. Nangong Yi stood in the formation, feeling a warm energy flowing through his body, and at the same time, something seemed to be coming out. This is. Sitting on the high platform, Bibidong, who was originally lacking in enthusiasm and was losing focus, was pulled back. What a brutal killing aura. The senior soul masters present all felt the violent atmosphere, especially the red bishop who awakened the martial soul for Nangong Yi. He just feels like this kid is not an orphan. This must be a top-level martial soul. Your sister. Similarly, as the protagonist of the awakening of martial souls, Nangong Yi also felt the violent and murderous atmosphere. Moreover, he is quite familiar with this aura. Damn it. Shouldn't it be, listen, the extinct? I listened to your mother. What? The martial soul square suddenly fell silent, and even Bibidong looked a little confused as Nangong Yi, who had thrown his awakened blood-red giant sword to the ground. Damn it. You're so haunted. Nangong Yi looked at the blood-red giant sword on the ground with a displeased expression. Attox. Why did this guy come with him? Slaying me once is not enough. Why are you chasing after Douluo Continent to attack? You. The red bishop in charge of the awakening ceremony looked at Nangong Yi, who had made strange moves, hesitating to speak. This is your martial soul. How did you throw it on the ground? Also, did the sword just speak? Did the martial soul speak? Don't pay attention to him, let's continue. Nangong Yi turned around and said calmly. Continue. The cardinal was taken aback. It's already over. I feel like there's something else that hasn't come out yet. Try losing a little more soul power, said Nangong Yi. Twin martial souls. The bishop in red showed shock on his face. How could he have encountered this once-in-a-century genius? Continue. Bibidong, who was sitting on the high platform, had arrived at the awakening platform at some point with a faint smile on his face. Obviously, I am quite interested in Nangong Yi. Or rather, interested in the sword on the ground and the upcoming twin martial souls. Upon hearing this, the Red Bishop dared not delay and continued to input soul power into the awakening formation. A colorful light shone from Nangong Yi's left hand, and the light cluster grew larger and heavier. Nangong Yi unconsciously used both hands to hold this light cluster. Bang! The light cluster is shattered, and the martial soul at the center of the light cluster also displays its image. Stone. Nangong Yi looked bewildered. The Red Bishop and Bibidong on the side were also stunned for a moment. How could it be a stone? Oh! Look! Look! Attox on the ground made another sound. What did you awaken? Stone. A stone. You actually awakened a stone. Are you planning to use it to smash your enemy to death? Ha ha ha. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Calling you sister is enough to give face. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Calling you sister is enough to give face. You. I'm laughing now. Nangong Yi took back the martial soul transformed by Atorx. Very good, it's quiet now. Fortunately, it is now the end of the martial soul awakening ceremony, and the person who finally awakened was from the orphanage. Just now, I saw that he seemed to be a twin martial soul, and the dark guy next to Bibidong also took away the audience present. Otherwise, a sword, or a martial soul, would actually speak sarcastically. I really don't know what kind of ghost it would be passed down into. Come, child, test your soul power. The Red Bishop excitedly brought the nearby soul power crystal ball to Nangong Yi's body. Leaving aside this inexplicable stone, just the sword just now is definitely a top-level martial soul. This kid's innate soul power is definitely not low. Looking at the soul power crystal ball in front of her, Nangong Yi hesitated on her face, but still put her hand on it. Nangong Yi tried to output soul power, and the crystal ball shone along with it. Innate full soul power. The cardinal exclaimed in surprise. Although the sword martial soul just now looked extraordinary, it was uncertain before measuring the innate soul power. After all, it could also be superficial. Congratulations to the Pope. The cardinal turned to look at Bibidong. Children from the Martial Soul City Orphanage naturally joined the Martial Soul Hall. Twin martial souls, innate full soul power, this is a situation similar to the Pope's Bibidong. Little one, what's your name? Bibidong ignored the Red Bishop's congratulations and walked to Nangong Yi's side. Nangong Yi. Are you willing to become my student? Bibidong said directly. Twin martial souls, a genius with innate soul power, naturally have to be under her command. Moreover, this question is somewhat redundant. She is the Pope, and children from orphanages like this cannot refuse her, and they also have no ability to refuse her. Can I refuse? Nangong Yi's expression was strange. It's not that he has any objections to Bibidong. After all, it was this woman who picked him up from the wilderness. His state at that time, combined with the environment upon hearing Nangong Yi's rhetorical question, the bishop in red turned pale. Just as he wanted Nangong Yi to stop joking, Bibidong smiled and whispered in Nangong Yi's ear. I am the Pope. If you refuse me, you will not give me face. Think about your future days. Are you sure you don't want to give me face? Are you threatening me? Nangong Yi took back the stone martial soul in his hand. Bibidong was taken aback, obviously not expecting Nangong Yi to have such a reaction. It's not normal for a child from an orphanage to refuse her as the Pope. How dare she ask her back now? What do you think? Bibidong asked. It's really interesting. It's been a long time since someone dared to refuse her. She's still a child. Haha. Nangong Yi hugged her hands. You want face, I don't want face. Do you still want face? Bibidong smiled without getting angry. It's just a child. A great man living between heaven and earth, how can he remain depressed for a long time? Nangong Yi said solemnly. So. Bibidong is a bit funny. Where did you learn this? Not living under people. I'm not young, but I have a good temper. It's okay to call you sister, but it's impossible to be a teacher. Don't try to be my elder, said Nangong Yi. Why? Bibidong asked in confusion. My parents and elders have already passed away, and I don't need a new elder, Nangong Yi said with a firm expression. The tone is casual but carries an unshakable meaning. Upon hearing Nangong Yi's words, Bibidong remained slightly silent for a moment and stood up straight. Sure. Sister. The Red Bishop standing on the side watched the entire journey with a bewildered expression on his face. Recognize the Pope as my sister. You're so brave, kid. The awakening ceremony of the martial soul has come to a successful end, and Bibidong is also satisfied with bringing the genius of twin martial souls back to the imperial palace. After instructing someone to arrange accommodation for Nangong Yi in the conference hall, Bibidong began his formal activities. What's wrong with your sword? Said Bibidong curiously. That kind of brutal killing atmosphere, even surpassing the capital of slaughter. And, a sword, or a martial soul, can actually speak. Even, that thing seems to have its own consciousness. This is a situation that has never happened before. This. Nangong Yi thought for a moment. His name is Attokus, and he was ambushed and sealed into his sword. He was locked for too long, and he went crazy. Seal. Bibidong nodded. This situation is not unique. The martial soul coiled dragon sticks worshipped by the two deities, Qianjun subduing demons, belong to a similar situation. However, the sticks of those two guys are sealed with dragons, and dragons are unconscious. So, what about that stone? Bibidong asked. Can I not say it for now? Nangong Yi said. Sure, Bibidong nodded. But you need to consider which martial soul to cultivate first. Twin martial souls cannot attach soul rings to two martial souls at the same time, otherwise, the soul power will be imbalanced, leading to explosive body death. When she first joined the martial soul hall, she did not reveal her twin martial souls to anyone. It was not until she ascended to the papacy a few years ago that she revealed this. Prior to this, neither her beast teacher Qiang Sunji nor Yu Shaojiang knew that she was a twin martial soul. The reason why she has been hiding this is to wait until she achieves the title Douluo and has enough resources to attach a more perfect soul ring to her second martial soul. Therefore, she unexpectedly solved the difficulty of cultivating twin martial souls. It's getting late, you go back and rest. Bibidong looked forward and saw the papal palace maid leading the way for Nangong Yi. Oh, Nangong Yi looked outside the door and nodded. Indeed, it's already dark. By the way, do you still remember me? Nangong Yi suddenly stopped at the entrance of the main hall and looked at Bibidong, who was preparing to start processing the memorial. Bibidong was momentarily taken aback, obviously not realizing it. And Nangong Yi also got the answer. It's nothing, goodbye, by the way, rest early. Bibidong nodded. After Nangong Yi left the main hall, Bibidong, who later became aware, lifted his head and looked at Douluo, a ghostly attendant standing by. Have I seen that child before? When she was on the square today, she had this feeling, but at that time, she thought it was the impression she left when she went to the orphanage before. But just now, under the Pope's crown, that child was picked up in the Star Forest when we went hunting that rabbit. The ghost's memory has improved significantly, or rather, encountering the child covered in blood in the Star Forest, as if soaking in a pool of blood, left a deep impression on him. However, Bibidong has been too busy these years and forgot. It's him. Bibidong was taken aback and remembered the scene from the beginning. The little blood people back then have grown so big. The child I picked up on a whim is actually a genius of twin martial souls, and I even recognize her as my sister. Can this be considered luck? End of this chapter. Chapter 3. The Despicable Demacians. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. The Despicable Demacians. Hello, I am Attox, a transcendent celestial being trapped in a knife. What is your surname? Hello, I am Nangong Yi, your surname is Nangong. A Demacian who died tragically in your hands. Now, you have become the sword in my hand, driven by me. How do you feel? Next to the papal hall, Nangong Yi obtained his own small courtyard, and then returned to his room without resting. Instead, he took Attokus out. This guy made him step towards death, just one step away from obtaining the power of the star spirit. Now that they are all in dire straits, he needs to make a good mockery of this guy. I will take this body. You won't be proud for long, Atorx laughed. As long as you use my power, you are destined to be devoured by me. What if I don't use it? Nangong Yi released the stone martial soul. I'm not the only one to choose from. He just didn't want to say it because this stone is a bit complex. Forbidden magic stone. The foundation established by Demacia. On the surface, it is used to eliminate magic, but in reality, this type of stone is a container for storing magic, which means that the forbidden magic stone is a part of magic, not the opposite of magic. Forgot why you were expelled. Now, do you still want to touch this kind of thing again? Artocks said softly. Didn't you harm me? Nangong Yi said. In the demon-forbidden Demacia, as the sworn brother of King Gavin III, he possessed powerful magical power and did not want to give up that magical power. King Gavin III also kept it hidden for him, but Attox came. Demacia cannot resist the power of the dark race. And Atorx saw his body and was worried that he would hide behind Demacia. So. Come, Demacia, still, their lives. Either use magic in front of everyone to expel Atorx and protect the people of Demacia, and then he who possesses magic will also be expelled by Demacia. Either watch Atorx continue the massacre. The result is obvious, he left Demacia. However, there is one thing that Atorx made a mistake. He left on his own and did not want to make Jiawen 3 difficult. As for climbing the giant god peak later, it was because of other things. How did you appear on the giant god peak? Nangong Yi asked. Climbing with anger towards God and wanting to gain the power of those fraudsters, you are truly a genius. Atorx sneered. I asked why you appeared at the giant god peak, Nangong Yi repeated. Do you think I'll tell you? You. Do you believe I put you in the shit pit? Nangong Yi interrupted. Atorx. Despicable. You despicable Demacian. I despise you. I'm from Ionia, said Nangong Yi with a nonchalant expression. Although he was raised by Emperor Jiawen III, he was actually an Ionian. At the age of 7, he met Zoe, the unprofessional twilight spirit. The older sister, for some reason, became curious about him. However, when the dangerous older sister touched him, his innate magical power erupted. Similar to Silas, but more powerful. He absorbed Zoe's power and uncontrollably launched a space magic that distorted reality, teleporting himself to the battlefield of Demacia. The space storm brought by the teleportation defeated the Nox's army that was currently fighting against the Demacian army led by King Gavin III. Afterwards, he brought victory to Demacia and was regarded as a gift by the young King Gavin III, who adopted him and brought him back to Demacia. However, he was well aware of Demacia's aversion to magic and had never demonstrated his strong magical talent. He only studied magic in secret, and his magical power could also be imitated and plundered by others. However, he did not know the upper limit of this power. But at least, as the power of the Twilight Spirit, Zoe can also seize it, although he cannot control it. And unlike Silas, who cannot store, he can store magic that he imitates or plunders. What drives Attox away is the magic that distorts space obtained from Zoe. Attox, who was threatened by the pit of feces, reluctantly revealed what he had learned. At that time, I was searching for your trace when a strange light descended from the sky, and then I walked up to you. Is it that simple? Nangong Yi looked bewildered. He knew he couldn't defeat Attox at all, and the power he gained from Zoe was not pure magic, but more of the power of the star spirit. If that power was used too many times, it would eventually be consumed. So he took the initiative to leave Demacia and headed towards the direction of the giant god Peak, where there was the sun sect, as well as the moon goddess Diana and the dawn goddess Leona. With these two beings possessing spiritual power, he didn't have to worry about being chased by Athos. But he never expected that after climbing the giant god Peak, Attox would greet him. Dark descendants are beings corroded by the void. How could those star spirits on the giant god Peak make Attox ascend to the giant god Peak? It's just that simple, Atorx said coldly. How did we come here? Nangong Yi asked in confusion. If Attokus successfully killed him and obtained his body, why would he still come to Douluo Continent with him? Even became his martial soul? I don't know. Atorx said. I just got your body, the sky. No, the sky fell, countless stars fell down, I lost consciousness, woke up again, and it was like this now. Stars. Nangong Yi looked strange. Can it be Zoe? On his way from Demacia to Mount Giant, he met Zoe again. The guy seemed to have been looking for him for a long time. As an apology for losing him, Zoe asked him if he had any wishes. He said that if possible, he would like a grand funeral to welcome death among the stars, which could be considered a brilliant occasion. Zoe shouldn't have taken it seriously, right? Zoe has a good relationship with the imprisoned Thor, so if Zoe sees his death and lets Thor have a meteor shower, it's not impossible either. Twilight Star Spirit. Upon hearing Zoe's name, Atorx instantly became excited. And Nangong Yi had already obtained what he wanted, so he took Attox back directly. The world is quiet now. Taking a deep breath, Nangong Yi once again felt another force in her body that was different from soul power. His power to plunder and replicate magic still exists, and this power seems to merge with his soul. So, he doesn't care what kind of martial soul he awakens. After all, even without a martial soul, he is still a bug in this world. He can plunder the magic of others, and naturally he can also plunder the soul power of this world. In the years he has been quietly trying in the orphanage, he can even plunder the soul skills of soul masters. However, before, only the first soul skill could be looted, and it could only be released once. I don't know what the current situation is. Unfortunately, Zoe's star spirit power is gone, otherwise I would at least be invincible under the gods in this world. Nangong Yi said with regret. Zoe's star spirit power can distort reality. Mischievous, whimsical, and unpredictable, Zoe is the embodiment of all of this. As the cosmic messenger of the giant god race, her appearance is a precursor to earth-shattering changes. She doesn't even need any action, just appearing in a certain place is enough to distort the surrounding arcane mathematical laws and disrupt the physical laws of reality. The kind of space magic he unleashes relies on distorting the real space, causing the collapse of reality. The so-called teleportation space is just an accessory to the collapse of reality, which means that the so-called space magic he unleashes has no idea where to send people. Before climbing the giant god peak, he had just absorbed a large amount of star spirit power from Zoe. Therefore, he is now thinking that when he and Attokus arrived in Douluo Continent, could it be that he unconsciously used that star spirit power before his death, distorting reality again? Otherwise, his magic is with his soul, and the star spirit power absorbed by him is also with his soul. There is no reason for magic to follow, but the star spirit power disappears. At present, a reasonable explanation is that the power of the star spirit was used up when he distorted reality. The forbidden magic stone can absorb and store magic, and now it has become my martial soul. I wonder if it can absorb and store soul power and soul skills. If possible, then it would be fun. Soul skills. Divine skills. Drop. Drop. It's all a drop. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. You should call me uncle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. You should call me uncle. Although Bibidong immediately blocked the news of Bibidong finding a twin martial soul genius in the orphanage, it ultimately happened in public on the Martial Soul Square. Therefore, the news quickly spread to the temple of worship. Twin martial souls. Are you like her? The 1,000 streams kneeling in front of the magnificent angel statue showed their thoughts. Great offering, the innate full soul power of twin martial souls, this kind of qualification. The two majestic sacrificial golden crocodiles hesitated to speak. Since Chihiro's serious injury and death, Bibidong ascended to the papal throne, the martial soul hall has indeed become more powerful than before, which is the main reason why Chihiro was able to let Bibidong go. But, can't everyone let Bibidong take it? What is his martial soul? Xian Douluo asked. I heard it's a talking sword and a stone, said the golden crocodile. Sword, stone. Xian Douluo opened his eyes and stood up. What is the situation on the other side of the papal palace now? Bibidong, I think we haven't received any apprentices yet, have we? If this person has already been admitted as a student by Bibidong, it is not convenient for him to go. After all, it is not justifiable in name, but if not, then it belongs to each individual's ability. The innate full soul power of Guangguang is already enough to attract people, let alone the twin martial souls. If this talent is lucky, it may not be able to obtain the divine inheritance like Bibidong, but even if it cannot obtain the divine inheritance, it is still a guaranteed title for Douluo. He needs to find some future team members for Qian Renxue, and even if this kind of qualification is suitable, it can actually, by the way, the fun, Xiao Shui said she missed you and wanted to come back and take a look, said Jean Crocodile. Qian Douluo nodded. Exactly, I'll go check on that kid's situation first. If it's suitable, I can actually let Xiaoxue get in touch with him. Perhaps Xiaoxue doesn't want to compete with that woman, right? Jean Crocodile hesitated and said although Bibidong treats Qian Renxue as his enemy, in Qian Renshue's heart, besides the grandfather Qian Douluo, it is Bibidong's biological mother who is the most important. The so-called Tiendo undercover plan now is also something that Qian Renxue insists on going to. She wants to prove herself and let Bibidong see her better. However, the problem between these two people is not something that this child can change by proving their abilities. Let's take a look first, sighed Qian Douluo. I really can't say what happened back then. If Qian Renxue finds out that her father raped her mother and gave birth to her, and then her mother kills her father, with that child's temper, not only can she not face Bibidong, but she may even be unable to face her own existence. What a sin the sun shines in the sky, and the flowers smile at me. Nangong Yi, who woke up early, walked out of her small room. Although he wants to sleep a little longer, he is so hungry. The room that Bibidong had arranged for him didn't even have any fruit. How stingy. Who are you? Just as Nangong Yi was struggling to find a kitchen to save her stomach, a little girl with short pink hair stood in front. Of course, she can't be considered a little girl either. After all, this girl is much taller than Nangong Yi, who is 1.3 meters tall. It looks like 1.6 meters. And at this age, this image, this place, Nangong Yi probably guessed the other person's identity. Hulina. If nothing unexpected happens, you should call me uncle. Nangong Yi said solemnly. Bibidong is his sister, and as a student of Bibidong, it's reasonable to call him uncle. Uncle. Hulina was taken aback. Hey. Nangong Yi simply recognized this niece. Hulina's face turned pale. Stinky little devil. Surprisingly taking advantage of her. Farewell. Seeing Hulina's clenched fists, Nangong Yi didn't hesitate at all and turned around to run away. However, Hulina, who is already a great soul master, undoubtedly surpasses Nangong Yi, a 6-year-old child who has just awakened her martial soul, in both physical fitness and soul power level. So, woman, I advise you to think clearly. I am an existence that you cannot afford to offend. Nangong Yi, who was being carried by Hulina like a big cat by the back collar, showed displeasure. I can't afford to offend you. Hulina didn't agree. Don't think I don't know who you are. Isn't it that the teacher brought you back from the orphanage yesterday? We are the same, you have to call me sister or senior sister. She is also an orphan who was adopted by her teacher since childhood. After awakening her martial soul at the age of 6, she was taken as a disciple. This child was brought back to the papal palace by her teacher, and she must have been in the same situation as her. Are you sure? Nangong Yi looked strange. What's going on? Hulina pinched Nangong Yi's small face, which was full of water spirit. What a lovely child, why is his mouth so damaged? To be honest, I am the newly recognized younger brother of the Pope, so are you sure you want me to call you sister? Nangong Yi asked. Brother. Hulina looked bewildered. Her teacher's new brother. Isn't she really going to call her uncle? If you feel like uncle can't shout out, senior uncle can do it too, said Nangong Yi. However, senior uncle needs you to put him down now, otherwise, if someone sees him like this, he will be very embarrassed. You don't want me, senior uncle, to report it to my sister, right? I don't believe it. Hulina's face turned sideways and she lifted Nangong Yi onto her shoulder, running towards the palace where Bibidong was located. Just a few steps away, an indistinct black shadow passed by, and Hulina and Nangong Yi on her shoulder disappeared into the courtyard in an instant. In the high sky, Hulina and Nangong Yi, who were abducted by black shadows, were moving at high speed. Hulina was knocked unconscious, while Nangong Yi looked at the increasingly distant Pope's palace and was not worried. This is Martial Soul City, this is the Pope's palace, and above it is the Hall of Worship. Is there a digital pinnacle Douluo, and even the existence of the peerless Douluo, In Douluo, causing trouble in such a place? Do you think your life is too long? And yesterday he was still a silent and unnamed orphan in an orphanage, without offending anyone at all. He didn't even know anyone outside the orphanage, and no one would risk their lives to steal a child from him in the papal palace. For Hulina. As for Hulina, she is a disciple of Bibidong. Kidnapping this girl is equivalent to declaring war with Bibidong, that is, declaring war with the Martial Soul Hall. Who has the courage to do so? And it seems that Bibidong didn't notice it. Bibidong is a titled Douluo, and at this time, he is even the peak Douluo at level 978. He is also the inheritor of the gods, able to evade her spiritual exploration and even easily kidnap him 1,000 streams. Why is this old man stealing from him? Can't it be because Bibidong has an extra genius and wants to play the trick of pinching out tender seedlings? And by the way, also destroyed Helena, causing some damage to Bibidong. No, Douluo is not that kind of person. When it comes to who is the most upright and noble person in Douluo Continent, Douluo is not to be underestimated. Moreover, he is just a child who has just awakened his martial soul and poses no threat to this old man, this guy. By the way, how long do you plan to fly? Nangong Yi asked. Well, it's not that I don't let you fly, but rather that I'm a bit dizzy and nauseous. If nothing unexpected happens, I'll spit it out within 10 seconds, and you still have about 8 seconds to react. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Demacians never retreat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Demacians never retreat, ugh. Upon hearing Nangong Yi's sincere explanation, Douluo fell to the ground at the fastest speed, and then Nangong Yi really vomited. Of course, I didn't vomit anything, only some stomach acid flowed out. It was early in the morning, and I didn't eat anything. My stomach was empty. Looking at Nangong Yi lying on the ground vomiting uncontrollably, Douluo felt a bit embarrassed. Flying too fast, he wanted to give this kid some excitement, so he didn't use his soul power to protect him, and ended up playing in a moment. Nangong Yi barely recovered. The speed of In Douluo is really fast, just give him a headache. Exciting, Nangong Yi sighed. Demacia's dragons and birds cannot fly so fast. 1,000 streams flow. Stimulation. This kid shouldn't have had any brain problems, right? Hello, I am Nangong Yi, a current member of the Martial Soul City Orphanage. I have been in the organization for 2.5 years and am currently the godbrother of Pope Bibidong. Do you have anything to do with me? Nangong Yi stood up straight and looked at Douluo hidden under his black robe, calmly asking. The corners of his mouth curved under Douluo's black robe. An interesting child. This kind of demeanor is not something that any orphanage can cultivate. Are you not afraid? Douluo asked with great interest. What are you afraid of? Nangong Yi asked in reverse. Afraid you might kill me. There is such a possibility, said Douluo. Am I afraid that you will let me go? Nangong Yi asked. Of course not, said Douluo. What am I afraid of doing? Nangong Yi asked in confusion. 1,000 streams flow. I can't refute it. After a slight silence, Douluo took out a dagger from his soul guide and threw it in front of Nangong Yi. What does it mean? Nangong Yi asked in confusion. Kill her, you can live, said Douluo, pointing to Helena who was unconscious on the side. Nangong Yi was taken aback. What the hell is this old man doing? Bibidong raised Helena as his own daughter. If he kills Helena, he still has a way to survive at Bibidong's place. Is it difficult for thousands of people to want to play Discord? Can you solve Bibidong's young strength without dirtying your own hands? Good idea. He is much smarter than that pig from Qinshuan disease. Are you sure? Nangong Yi picked up the dagger on the ground. It's a real guy. Of course, either you kill her or she kills you, choose between the two, said Douluo calmly. I gave you the chance to choose first, but if you give up, your life and death will be in her hands. What's the point of doing this? Nangong Yi asked. It's meaningless, nothing to do, just have some fun, said Douluo casually. However, as a friendly reminder to you, if this little girl came to choose, I can be sure that she will kill you. Helena is not a person with a spirit of dedication. For unfamiliar people, even temporary team members who have to choose between two options when facing danger, they will not hesitate to choose to save their lives. Last year, during their brief experience in Death Canyon, Helena had already demonstrated her decisiveness, and he also heard of this news. Of course, he has no aversion to this. When faced with danger, especially life-threatening situations, it is natural for him to choose himself. Compared to outsiders, his own life is naturally more important. His granddaughter Qianrengshu is no exception. But what he learned from the orphanage, this kid seems to have a strong sense of justice. Protecting the weak, being upright and brave, this is the evaluation of Nangong Yi by the head of the orphanage. Now, he wants to see if this kid is upright and brave, true or just pretending. Of course, no matter what the outcome is, he doesn't care, and he won't let Nangong Yi really kill Helena. What he wants is the most authentic reaction from this kid. Moreover, this small game is naturally not so simple. Helena is actually awake now, and it was just a small trick he used that caused the child to be unable to control their body, which is considered a false coma. So, if Nangong Yi chooses to kill Helena and save his life, then he will definitely feel uncomfortable next on the side of the papal palace. In this way, it will become easier for him to lure this boy to the altar. As for whether this kid has any aversion towards him, leaving aside the fact that this kid wouldn't even know today's person was him, what if he knew? This is a choice he made himself. Looking at Helena in a coma, Nangong Yi fell into silence. To be honest, he's a bit uncertain about who the person across from him is now. It could be 1,000 paths. After all, this kind of estrangement plan has a relatively big impact on Bibidong. Not only has it lost Helena, whom he regards as his own daughter, but it will also lose a newly acquired twin martial soul genius. In the past, Douluo did not take action against Bibidong because of her abilities and Qianrengshu. However, this does not mean that Douluo will really not retaliate against Bibidong. Therefore, if Douluo were to take action now, it would make sense. But this person could also be from Bibidong, Douluo, or Ghost Douluo. It was either 1,000 streams of strength above Bibidong or Bibidong's own people who could easily kidnap him and Helena from the papal palace. But what are the benefits of doing this compared to Bibidong? He didn't think that the female pope with iron fists wouldn't know that human nature couldn't withstand testing this truth. If he really takes action against Helena, will he still be able to survive in the papal palace? What are the benefits of making his relationship with Helena strained? You still have 10 seconds to make a choice. If you don't choose, it's her turn to choose, said Douluo calmly. Nangong Yi regained his senses, looked at the sharp dagger in his hand, and casually threw it to the ground. What does it mean? Douluo asked in confusion. Nangong Yi did not respond. With a lift of his right hand, a violent killing aura overflowed from his palm and swept across the entire scene. A blood-colored giant sword, even taller than Nangong Yi himself, fell to the ground, with a dark golden body in a central spine that seemed to be flowing with blood. At the center of the exaggerated sword, there was a heart beating like lava. What do you want to do? Douluo couldn't understand. Do you think the small dagger is not useful? Nangong Yi swung the giant sword in his hand with force, and the huge sword body smashed a small hole directly. It's quite convenient. I'm sorry, I don't even want to choose from the options you gave me. Nangong Yi held the sword handle with both hands. First of all, I don't know if what you're saying is true or false. After I kill her, will you let me go? This is an uncertain future, and I won't leave my fate to others to control. I have always despised this despicable act of killing women and children who cannot resist in exchange for my own stability. Secondly, Demacians never back down. Atorx's heart was beating violently, and a bloody breath surged up and down. Nangong Yi infused all his soul power into Atorx and struck fiercely at the black-robed man in front of him. Follow me. Let's rush into destruction together. Demacia. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Familiar Feelings. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Familiar feelings: the blue sky, white clouds, big sun, soft cushions, still warm. You're awake. Helena looked at Nangong Yi lying on her lap in surprise. Looking at the clearly crying little face less than 20 centimeters away from her, Nangong Yi fell silent for a moment. He is a bit confused about the current situation. If that black-robed man is 1,000 streams, then Helena should have already died. He went missing with Helena, and then he was still alive. Helena died. It's best to disguise the scene again and create a false impression that he and Helena had a fight, and then Helena was killed by him. With Bibidong's respect for Helena, he will definitely die. Then, the genius brought back by Bibidong herself killed her disciple who regarded her as a daughter, and then she killed the genius again, perfectly closing it. It has nothing to do with the temple of worship and can still be the biggest blow to Bibidong. If the black-robed person just now was from Bibidong, I don't understand. Inexplicably. Nangong Yi exerted a slight force on her waist and abdomen, sat up, looked around, and said, "Where was that guy just now?" Helena shook her head and said, "I don't know, when I woke up, there was no one left, only the two of us." "You didn't kill me?" Nangong Yi asked in confusion. Something's wrong with Helena's personality. If faced with that choice, whether it's true or false, this girl will definitely take action against him. But he doesn't have any wounds on his body, just a sore back. He only remembered gathering all his strength to strike a sword, not knowing if he had hit it, and then he fainted. Ah! Helena was taken aback, her eyes instinctively dodging. When Nangong Yi faced that choice, she was actually clear-headed, just unable to move, but to be honest, if she faced that choice, didn't he let you choose? Nangong Yi saw Helena's nervousness. But why is one feeling guilty? Is it really a scene of Bibidong's manipulation? Test him. But what's the point of this? Not only do they get nothing, but they are all risks. Not really. After hesitating for a moment, Helena still didn't lie and said that she also chose to resist. After all, when she couldn't move at that time, she was really afraid that Nangong Yi would kill her, and if she changed her stance, do you know where this place is? Nangong Yi shook her head and no longer hesitated about the question. It should be a barren mountain outside the Martial Soul City, said Helena. Do you know the way back? Nangong Yi asked. He has never left the orphanage since he was brought back to the Martial Soul City by Bibidong. For over 2 years, apart from the school hours organized by the orphanage, he has been regulating his own strength and flipping through the information in the orphanage library. So, he has no idea what kind of place this wilderness is. I should be able to find my way back, said Helena. The Martial Soul Palace Academy often arranges them to go out of the city for trials, and looking at the surrounding vegetation, it should be around the Martial Soul City. Should it be? Nangong Yi expressed doubt. I can do it. Helena corrected. I hope so. Although Nangong Yi didn't have much confidence in Helena, she had no other choice. Let's go back to the Martial Soul City first. Nangong Yi stood up and was about to take 2 steps to move around, but his body fell forward uncontrollably. Helena's expression tightened and she quickly grabbed Nangong Yi, preventing him from disguising himself. You should have exhausted your soul power and need to rest. When she regained her mobility, Nangong Yi fell to the ground and fell into a coma, and the person who bound them was also missing. However, Nangong Yi's body was not injured, as if it was due to the exhaustion of her soul power and the loss of strength caused by the person's soul power pressure. Do you still have these symptoms? Nangong Yi looked strange. He now feels like he used to run around the city of Demacia for 3 days and 3 nights with members of the Knights. It's like I can't feel the presence of my legs. Let me carry you on my back. Speaking, Hulayina directly helped Nangong Yi onto her back. Sorry for the trouble. Nangong Yi no longer showed off his strength. After all, he really doesn't have the ability to move now, and he can't say anything foolish to make Hulayina ignore him. It's okay, rest well, I'll take you back, Hulayina said seriously. Well, come on. Nangong Yi obediently lay on Hulayina's back. By the way, do you have anything to eat? I'm so hungry. What's to eat? Hulayina was stunned for a moment. I didn't bring it with me, why not? I'll find some wild fruits for you first. Nangong Yi looked around at the bare wasteland and scattered green leaves. Let's go back to the Martial Soul City first, don't waste your energy on such things, he said. I can. Be obedient. Oh. Strange feeling, she's clearly the sister, he chopped towards you. Offering to the inside of the hall, listening to the description of Douluo, a hint of surprise appeared on the face of the golden crocodile. How could a 6-year-old child who had just awakened his martial soul make that choice in the face of that situation? It's interesting to spare no effort and throw out all the sword, said Douluo, with a strong interest on his calm face. The last time I saw such a sword was decades ago. Chen Jianjun, the 7-kill sword, the 97-level peak Douluo. The last blow that person sent to him was a decisive sword, even though he knew he was invincible. I never expected it to reappear on a child in a few decades. That kind of talent cannot be left for Bibidong, said Jean Crocodile. The cultivation of a soul master is undoubtedly indispensable in terms of talent, but to become a truly strong person, it is not only enough to have strong talent, but also more important in terms of character and character. Whether it's good or evil, loyalty or treachery, in order to reach a high place, one needs a resilient heart, especially to reach their level where cowardice is absolutely impossible. She can't keep it. A hint of contemptuous smile flashed on Douluo's face. That child, and Bibidong, are two completely different types of people. Healthy atmosphere. He saw an unwavering righteousness in that child. Today, even if that kid can be certain that as long as he kills Hulayina, he will be safe, he will definitely not take action. Such a person cannot walk together with Bibidong. However, how could such a person have such a sword? Douluo was puzzled. What's wrong? The golden crocodile asked in confusion. Douluo's face showed solemnity. His sword was filled with a violent and murderous aura. It had no righteous or evil energy, only the madness of destroying everything. That kind of thing doesn't match him no matter how he looks. When Nangong Yi was chopping towards him at that time, he felt the madness of the blood-red giant sword, which was the madness of killing everything. That thing even wants to kill itself. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Shocked Bibidong. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Shocked Bibidong. I can't even keep an eye on two children. What's the use of you guys? The magnificent papal palace is filled with suppressed anger, and on the high platform of the main hall, Bibidong's dignified image is no longer the same as before, scanning the crowd with a cold expression. Today she had planned to get to know Nangong Yi and Hulayina first, and also complete the admission procedures for the Martial Soul Academy. However, when she walked into the courtyard arranged for Nangong Yi yesterday, there was no one around. No one can be found in the entire papal hall. Hulayina is also missing. And no one from the guards guarding the papal palace saw those two children go out. What does it mean? Are you haunted? Looking at Bibidong in anger on the high platform, the group of henchmen led by Ghosts and Moon Pass dared not speak out. I really can't find it. Since Bibidong discovered that the two children were missing at noon today, they have been searching for them. It's almost dark now, and there's no news at all. Even the Martial Soul City has been sealed off. The titled Douluo Elder of the Elder Hall has joined the search team, and the spiritual power search has almost covered the entire Martial Soul City. But there's no news at all. Those two people seem to disappear out of thin air. Under the papal crown, is there a possibility that they went up the mountain? Feeling like Bibidong was about to explode, he stood up with a stiff face. No one speaks anymore. Bibidong is really going to go crazy. And if Bibidong goes berserk, these people combined cannot withstand a single move. On the mountain, Bibidong was taken aback for a moment, and his momentum slightly eased. On the mountain is a temple for worship. Nangong Yi doesn't know, but Hulayina does know, but these two people disappeared together. If Nangong Yi disappeared alone, it was also possible that the old man from In Douluo stole someone while she was not paying attention. After all, it was the innate full soul power of the twin martial souls. In addition to Qian Renshue's cheating divine gift of level 20 soul power, this is already a top-level talent. As long as she does not die prematurely and is well cultivated, the lowest level is the peak Douluo at level 95 or above, and there is great hope of reaching the peerless Douluo. But Hulina is also missing. That self-proclaimed old man can't even do such a thing of kidnapping a little girl. Right. Bibidong's face gradually darkened as he was reminded. 1,000 streams can be made. As the father of that beast, Qiandao Lu wouldn't be a good thing either. Old bastard. Bibi looked cold on the east side. Want to compete with her? What kind of person is she? This child has already been taken by her. If this situation is still taken away by Qiandao Lu, then no one can expect it. Upon hearing Bibidong's angry scolding, His Highness's Moon Pass and others buried their heads lower. The relationship between the Papal Hall and the Apostolic Hall has always been very tense, and it has only been slightly stable in the past 2 years. If Hulina and this new Nangong Yi were really taken away by the Apostolic Hall's offerings, it would be troublesome. Hulina is fine. She is already a student of the Pope, and those who offer sacrifices will not go too far. After all, Bibidong was supported by the great offering to the position of Pope. Although it is Bibidong's own ability to hold this position firmly, this is enough to prove that the offerings led by the great offering Thousand Paths do not want to break ties with Bibidong, so Hulina, a student of the Pope, will not have any trouble. But Nangong Yi, if this twin martial soul child is really pulled over by the temple of worship, he is afraid to see blood next. Can't it be destroyed if it's not obtained? Under the Pope's crown. Found it. A woman with short, pale purple hair that matched her ears, an extremely beautiful and heroic appearance, ran in. The elder hall, Lingyuan Douluo, is the only female named Douluo except for Bibidong. Found it. Bibidong was taken aback. The originally solemn atmosphere within the entire papal palace gradually eased, and His Highness's Moon Pass and others breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, nothing happened, otherwise they would all be ruined. The genius of twin martial souls is certainly important, but Hulayina, who has been raised by Bibidong since childhood, is even more important. If something really happens to that child, Bibidong will definitely go crazy. None of these incompetent people can escape. Let's go. Bibidong did not delay and no longer cared about the Moon Pass and others in the main hall. He directly asked Lingyuan to lead the way, and the two of them flew towards the outside of the hall. Where did you find it? Bibidong asked. They came back from outside the Martial Soul City, said Lingyuan. Outside. Bibi looked puzzled to the east. Isn't it true that the guards at the gates of Martial Soul City haven't seen Hulayina and the others? I haven't inquired about the specific situation yet, but the boy you brought back seems to be injured and is currently unconscious, said Lingyuan. Injured and unconscious. Bibi looked worried to the east. Could it be that he rejected Qiandao Lu, and then that old guy couldn't bring himself to be the killer, so he gave him a lesson? The Papal Palace, the treatment room. Bishop Lin, how is his situation? Hulina looked at Nangong Yi lying unconscious in bed with some concern. When she was still on the road, Nangong Yi had already fainted, and she was already rushing back at the fastest speed. Don't worry, it's not a big problem. The old man with white hair, known as Bishop Lin, said. He's just overdrawn in soul power, and he's just too tired, but... What did you do? How did it turn out like this? Overdraft of soul power is not a small matter, as it can easily cause irreparable damage for soul masters who have just entered the path of cultivation. This child has just awakened his martial soul, and his soul power has just begun to adapt to flowing through his meridians. Suddenly, such a sudden appearance is unlikely to leave any sequelae. Nana. Hulina was about to explain the situation today when Bibidong's voice came from the entrance of the treatment room. Teacher. Hulina, who had been worried all day, threw her red eyes into Bibidong's arms. Upon seeing this scene, Bishop Lin bowed slightly to Bibidong and took the initiative to leave the treatment room. Nana, where have you been? Looking at Hulina's dirty and disheveled appearance, Bibidong was a bit angry. Is In Douluo demonstrating to her? Teacher. We have been kidnapped by someone. Hulina spoke with lingering fear about the entire process from this morning until she carried Nangong Yi on her back and ran in the barren mountains for an afternoon, including why Nangong Yi had become what she is now. The man in black. Bibidong's gaze was slightly cold. During the broad daylight, 2 children could be abducted from the papal temple without even realizing it, even the golden crocodile could not. 1,000 streams. You know how to play. Separation, right? As long as Nangong Yi takes action against Hulina, whether successful or not, this child will not be able to stay in the Pope's palace in the future, and it will be incredibly easy for the Temple of Worship to win over Nangong Yi. If Nangong Yi were to soften her heart and give up on taking action against Hulina, and In Douluo let Hulina choose again, based on her understanding of her disciple, Nangong Yi, as a newly acquainted child, would not hesitate. In this way, Nangong Yi still cannot stay in the papal palace. Old thing. That's tough enough. However, Bibidong's gaze softened slightly and he looked at Nangong Yi, who was unconscious in bed. Are interesting children actually making that choice when faced with that situation? In Douluo on the side also became interested in this brave child. Faced with the choice between life and death, he still chose to stick to his own will, even to the extent that he could do this to strangers like Hulina. It's really an interesting child. Teacher, is he really okay? Hulina worried. It's not a big problem. Bibidong breathed a sigh of relief after exploring Nangong Yi's body. In Douluo still hasn't done too much, or rather, it should be Nangong Yi's choice that sparked In Douluo's interest in him. After all, that old guy's temper, Bibidong's expression slightly changed as he was trying to infuse soul power into Nangong Yi, and he quickly distanced himself from Nangong Yi. Teacher, what's wrong with you? Seeing Bibidong's sudden move, not only Hulina, but even Lingyuan couldn't understand. How could it be? Bibidong's heart trembled. The Rakshasa power inside her body was actually sucked away. What is the situation with this child? End of this chapter. Chapter 8. That's so sorry. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. That's so sorry. Nangong Yi, who had been imbued with a moderate amount of soul power by Bibi, woke up in a daze. Looking at the exquisite ceiling in front of her, Nangong Yi breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Hulina is not a road enthusiast. You're awake. Hulina, standing beside the bed, excitedly hugged Nangong Yi as she opened her eyes. If possible, I suggest you take it lightly, Nangong Yi said with some difficulty. I'm almost out of breath. Ah. Hulina was taken aback and quickly let go. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Nangong Yi breathed a sigh of relief and sat up. Just as I was about to say something, I suddenly felt like there was something strange in my body. You probably didn't put anything strange into my body while I was asleep, did you? Nangong Yi asked. Strange thing. Helena paused for a moment, not understanding. Nana, you guys go out first, Bibidong said with a serious expression. What she was just sucked away was not soul power, it was the Rakshasa divine power. Even she couldn't control it, and it would even affect her in the opposite direction. Surprisingly, this kid absorbed her Rakshasa divine power. She needs to figure it out. Oh. Seeing Bibidong's serious expression, Helena dared not say anything more, and Ling Yuan didn't say anything nonsense. The two of them honestly walked out of the treatment room and locked the door tightly. The atmosphere in the treatment room was somewhat subtle for a moment. Nangong Yi looked quietly at Bibidong, and Bibidong also looked quietly at Nangong Yi. 4 eyes facing each other. Bibidong's eyes were solemn and puzzled. She couldn't understand why her Rakshasa power was being sucked away. And Nangong Yi is a pure doubt. What's wrong with the matchmakers? I didn't provoke her, did I? Her gaze is not right. In the end, Bibidong broke the silence by speaking up. How do you feel? Nangong Yi nodded and said, it's okay, it's just hungry. Yesterday, the awakening of the martial soul lasted from noon until afternoon, and it only ended in the evening. After awakening the martial soul, the sense of fullness brought by the soul power made him temporarily forget that he had not eaten anything until he slept. His body only reacted when he woke up this morning, and then his soul power was depleted. It should have been someone who replenished his soul power just now, so he recovered a lot, but his stomach was still hungry. Did you just suck something from me? Bibidong asked. Nangong Yi was taken aback and felt the strange energy in her body with her heart. Is it yours? Strange energy, not soul power, is it Rakshasa divine power? Bibidong is now able to use the Rakshasa divine power. The original description of her is that she had already reached the level 99 peerless Douluo in her 30s. According to the information he learned in the orphanage, Qian Xuanji died almost 4 years ago. When Qian Xuanji died, Qian Renxue was 10 years old. 4 years later, Qian Renxue should have been 14 years old. However, he heard that not long ago, the Heavenly Dou Empire established the eldest prince Xue Qinghe as the crown prince, and Qian Renxue should be 15 years old now, while Bibidong is now 30.5 to 30.6 years old. Hush. I have a crooked idea. Shaking her head, Nangong Yi lifted her right hand and directed the strange energy out. A dark purple small energy ball was suspended in Nangong Yi's hand. Is this your thing? Nangong Yi looked at Bibidong, who was stunned. Bibidong nodded with a complicated expression. She can't understand what she's seeing now. How could this child, who has just awakened his martial soul, remain calm under the power of the Rakshasa god? Not even affected at all. What a joke. Even her inheritor is constantly being eroded by the power of the Rakshasa, which is also a part of the Rakshasa divine examination. If she is consumed by the Rakshasa's power and leads to corruption, the divine examination will declare failure. And she will also be devoured by the Rakshasa secret realm. Although she has remained calm over the years due to her hatred towards Qiang Sunji, there are still occasional uncontrollable situations. Last time, she almost killed Qian Rengshu. But, this child, why is he? Okay. What's wrong? Nangong Yi asked in confusion. I have 2 questions. Bibidong walked up to Nangong Yi and stared closely into his eyes. First of all, do you have any strange feelings? Or rather, strange thoughts, impulses, and so on. The power of the Rakshasa is the power of evil thoughts, which is derived from the darkest and most filthy thoughts of living and dead beings, and condensed into divine power. So, this divine power can also evoke the darkest and dirtiest thoughts in people's hearts. Her hatred towards Qianshuan's illness extended to Qianrengshu, so she even wanted to kill Qianrengshu at first. This child, strange impulse. Nangong Yi's face showed strangeness. Did you discover all of this? When he first looked at Bibidong, he did have a crooked thought, but he quickly regained his senses. In that moment of wandering, Bibidong could even see it. Not so much, right? He is only a 6-year-old child now, and Bibidong is even more wary of children. No. Bibidong nodded to himself. What dark and dirty thoughts can children have? Moreover, this child is capable of wielding a sword and slashing upwards in the face of a life or death decision. If the power of the Rakshasa can arouse evil thoughts, then one must have talent. That's the second question, Bibi said seriously. How did you suck this thing out of me? Even if the power of the Rakshasa cannot arouse the evil thoughts of a sincere heart, it does not mean that an ordinary person can touch the power of the Rakshasa. Not to mention how easily this kid can hold the power of the Rakshasa in his hand. Although this amount is small, it is also the power of the Rakshasa god. The power of the Rakshasa is different from the power of the angel. If the power of the angel brings warmth, then the power of the Rakshasa is like a quagmire that devours people. Even if this kid doesn't have any evil thoughts that can be aroused, it doesn't mean he can wield this power. Even just now, the Rakshasa divine power was actively absorbed by Nangong Yi. Nangong Yi paused. The magical power that accompanied his soul is definitely impossible to express, at least not to tell Bibidong now, so Nangong Yi Jiang activated his soul power and released the forbidden demon stone Martial Soul. This thing should have sucked it in. This stone. Bibidong was taken aback. This thing is called the Forbidden Magic Stone, which can absorb and store soul power, said Nangong Yi. So, your strange energy should have been actively absorbed by it. Absorb and store soul power. Bibidong was taken aback, then reached out and grabbed the white stone, releasing his soul power slightly. It can really absorb. Absorbing and storing soul power, surprisingly there is such a strange stone that has transformed into a martial soul. But it hasn't absorbed another force from me now, Bibidong said. Just now, when she was delivering soul power to Nangong Yi, the Rakshasa divine power was directly absorbed. Now, when she is delivering soul power to this stone, the Rakshasa divine power in her body has not responded. Nangong Yi scratched her head. I don't know about this, after all, I'm not quite sure what this stone can do. I didn't say it before because I don't even know what it is. The martial soul doesn't carry any inheritance information. If it does, how could Tang San not know anything when he awakened the Haotian hammer? That blue-silver grass didn't tell Tang San that he was an awakened blue-silver emperor. And now he is really unclear about what the forbidden magic stone can do. Can it only store soul power? Can you still absorb and store soul skills before releasing them? Or is it to absorb soul skills and then convert them into his own soul power? That's it. Bibidong nodded. Many martial souls do have this problem, and everything they can do needs to be tested step by step, and the test results will be recorded. The data of the Martial Soul Hall is like this, which has slowly accumulated over the past tens of thousands of years. However, it seems that there has never been such a stone martial soul before. Then you can rest first, and we can discuss this matter when you recover. Speaking, Bibidong waved his right hand and withdrew the Rakshasa divine power from Nangong Yi's hand. This thing is very dangerous, I will introduce it to you if there is a chance. Nangong Yi nodded and didn't say much. He couldn't let Bibidong save some of this energy for him, at least not for now. Take a good rest. Bibidong helped Nangong Yi lie down, and she had a good impression of this child. In that situation, not taking action against Yelena, but choosing to fight to the death, this represents not only bravery. Nangong Yimian, who was laid down by Bibidong, showed a strange expression. Can you get me something to eat? Ah. Bibidong was taken aback. If I remember correctly, when you asked me how I felt just now, I said, I'm very hungry, Nangong Yi said solemnly. So, what I need now is not rest, it's food. Bibi appeared embarrassed and careless to the east. I'll have someone do it for you now. Others. I thought you would do it yourself. Nangong Yi shook her head, let out a long sigh, and turned over. Escape from death, just this treatment, sister. Did you pick it up? Oh, no, I just picked it up. This treatment is good. Thank you. Okay, I'll do it for you. Bibidong was a bit amused while feeling helpless. How can this child be both adult and child? You said it yourself, I didn't force you, Nangong Yi turned around. By the way, I want more meat and lean ones. I don't eat fatty meat, and fish is best. It's tender, don't make it too old, and don't put too much spicy food. I can't eat too much spicy food, but don't put it too much, otherwise it won't taste good, and... Bibidong looked dangerously at Nangong Yi, who couldn't stop speaking. Who are you commanding, kid? How about I find a piece of paper for you to write down? Bibidong leaned in. That's so embarrassing. Ah. Nangong Yi, who had not finished speaking yet, was pinched and tugged by Bibidong's hands on his face. A child's face is quite fun. Don't kick your nose or face on me, kid. What do I do, what do you eat, understand? Bibidong looked at me with a fierce expression. Nangong Yi's back cooled down and he said, I understand. Actually, I'm not picky about food. You just have the freedom to play. Flipping a face is faster than flipping a book. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. What a good age. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. What a good age, did you really do this? Nearly an hour later, Helena carried Nangong Yi from the treatment room to the Pope's residence in Bibidong, which was actually behind Nangong Yi's small courtyard. Looking at the sumptuous dinner on the table, Nangong Yimian looked strange. Can Bibidong still cook? He thought this strong woman didn't have this skill. Just now, he just had a few angry words. Perhaps influenced by Atorx, he always couldn't help but scold people. What do you mean? Doubt me. Bibidong's gaze was somewhat dangerous. It's not a doubt, it's just that I didn't expect you to really do it for me, Nangong Yi moved her body. In fact, when Helena was running on his back in the wilderness, his body was already fine. It was just that his soul power was overdrawn and he couldn't recover for a while. However, he was really hungry at the time, so he just lay down behind Helena and fell asleep, which can be considered to reduce energy consumption. When in the treatment room, Bibidong infused him with some soul power, and his body had completely recovered. However, just now Helena didn't listen to him at all and ran out holding him. He naturally wouldn't refuse such a soft means of transportation. Bibidong was taken aback, not expecting Nangong Yi to answer like this. I thought you promised verbally and then let someone else do it, but I don't know, said Nangong Yi. Thank you. Teacher, can we eat now? After a day of hunger and running wildly in the wilderness with Nangong Yi on her back for an afternoon, Helena was also hungry, and even tired. She was much more tired than Nangong Yi, who slept soundly. Let's eat. Bibidong nodded and sat down. She rarely cooks because she doesn't have time, especially in recent years. Many times, she doesn't even care about eating. Even though that old man helped her ascend to the position of Pope, whether she can sit firmly in this position and achieve what she wants is entirely up to her. It's already a matter of gratitude that the old man didn't give her any trouble. What are you doing? Nangong Yi, who was about to use chopsticks to eat, felt her body move upwards and fell down again, replacing her hard stool with a pair of soft thighs. Hey, you're eating. Helena, who held Nangong Yi in her arms, began to pick up vegetables and then. Ah. Open your mouth, said Helena. Nangong Yi had a strange expression, looking at Helena, who was less than 10 centimeters away from her, with a foolish gaze. I'm 6 years old this year. Open your mouth. I can eat by myself. Open your mouth. You're making me feel embarrassed like this. Do you need me to chew it up and feed you? You're amazing. Nangong Yi opened her mouth helplessly, satisfying Helena's feeding hobby. Unable to resist, it's better to enjoy with peace of mind. And Bibidong across from him watched the interaction between these two children, with a smile on his lips unconsciously. What a great age the next morning. Nangong Yi woke up early again. After more than 10 years of training, Demacia's biological clock has been fixed, and he will wake up when the time comes. If it were in the past, he should wear heavy armor and run around the city of Demacia twice with the children of King Gavin IV and the Crown Guard to warm up. I don't know if Lakis will follow the old path. When he left Demacia, Galen was still underage and Lakis was still a child. However, Silas had been imprisoned for many years. Although he knew that Silas would launch a rebellion in the future, he did not kill Silas because Demacia needed to change. Demacia is a powerful kingdom that prioritizes legal principles, with remarkable military achievements and a long reputation. The Demacians have always admired justice, honor, and responsibility, and are almost fanatically proud of their own traditions and heritage. However, despite adhering to these noble principles, over the past few hundred years, the stubborn Demacia has become increasingly isolated from the world, becoming synonymous with isolationism. Demacia's aversion to magic is bottom-up, rather than top-down as perceived by the outside world, which has existed since the establishment of Demacia. Most people who come to Demacia to live have suffered from the wars brought about by magic, so the situation in this country is not something that some mentally disabled people think. The upper class prohibits magic to prevent civilians from committing it, but rather the Demacian people's aversion to magic. For example, it can be compared to a country's sensitivity to drugs. A country that has been harmed by drugs is extremely strict in its crackdown on drugs. And Demacia, a country established by a group of people who have been harmed by magic, has an unforgettable aversion to magic. Even crazy. However, there is a difference between magic and drugs, and Demacia cannot permanently ban magic. If the relationship between magic and Demacia cannot be properly handled, this country is destined to be destroyed. He had already discussed with King Gavin III to change the Demacian ban on magic and allow the Demacians to face it again. However, Athos came too suddenly, and he and King Gavin III had just disbanded the demon-slaying group and had not yet had time to start reform. Faced with the threat of the Dark Race, he had to leave, otherwise Atorx would soon find Demacia. Because Atorx came for him, this guy craves his body. He doesn't even know why Attokus would crave his mortal body. Isn't the weapon master good? Of course, before leaving, he had warned Emperor Jiawen III to pay attention to the imprisoned Silas, who was very dangerous. Many people may have misunderstood that Silas was imprisoned because he possessed magic, but in fact, the reason Silas was sentenced to imprisonment was because that guy killed someone. Even if it was an accident, Silas had no evidence to prove it was an accident, so he was sentenced to life imprisonment. As for what it means to say that commoners are guilty if they possess magic, and that Miss Lakis, a noblewoman who possesses magic, can be sheltered. Is this difficult to understand? Is it difficult to understand that nobles, ruling classes, possess privileges? Can anyone really believe the nonsense that the emperor commits the same crime as the common people? In a world with extraordinary power, people with power are rightfully believed to have privileges, and the so-called strong are respected. In a world without extraordinary power, money, power, and reputation are also alternative forces. They are also the strong in their own world, and then, the strong are respected. The principle of respecting the strong is the same everywhere, and the difference lies in how you view this issue. As for some people mocking Demacia's hypocrisy, it is also interesting to embellish the image, which is normal, just like an emperor naming himself. The image of a country naturally needs to be embellished. Is it difficult to understand? Demacia at least does not allow children to go to the battlefield. Nobles enjoy privileges, but they also bear corresponding responsibilities. In the face of danger, the king and nobles will charge forward, rather than letting a group of children charge forward as cannon fodder. At least, Demacia is following me instead of giving me a ride. To fight for those who cannot fight, Galen should have grown up. But I became a child. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Don't play rogue with me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Don't play rogue with me. Why do you get up so early? Helena, who lives in the nearby yard, came with breakfast. She thought Nangong Yi was still sleeping, so she could wake him up. It seems that she needs to wake up earlier next time. Going to bed early and getting up early is good for the body, going to bed late and getting up early and dying early. Nangong Yi consciously came over to have breakfast. Helena started her feeding again, and Nangong Yi was too lazy to resist. Aren't you going to school? Nangong Yi asked in confusion. Is this girl currently studying at the Martial Soul Hall Academy? According to the information he learned in the orphanage library, the Martial Soul Academy should have already started classes at this time. I'm on leave, Helena focused on feeding. What are you taking leave for? Nangong Yi asked in confusion. Take care of you, Helena should have said. Bishop Lin said that as soon as you awakened your martial soul, you experienced a situation where your soul power was overdrawn. Your body may leave some sequelae and you need to take good care of yourself. The teacher also agreed, so I will take care of you until I confirm that you are okay and can enroll. But I don't think there's any problem with my body, said Nangong Yi. Bishop Lin is a healing soul master, also known as a doctor. Do you think you understand safety issues better than doctors? Helena said seriously. Why are you taking care of me? Nangong Yi asked in confusion. He and Helena only knew each other for a day. Even though this girl is a beauty control, he is still a 6-year-old child now, and the baby is still fat. At most, he is a cute child. Helena is a bit attentive to him. You became like this because of me, of course. Helena suddenly paused. At that time, she should have been unconscious and shouldn't have known these things. If Nangong Yi knew that she was awake, there might have been a misunderstanding. After all, this seemed like a probe no matter how it looked. No one likes to be tempted. Regardless of the outcome. I'm your sister, I should take care of you, Helena said seriously. No, I'm your uncle, or rather, my senior uncle, Nangong Yi said. Master feels that you can take good care of yourself and you should do your own thing. Helena's face turned pale. She confirmed from the teacher that Nangong Yi is indeed her newly adopted younger brother, but this child is even younger than her. Let her call her such a child's uncle. Alright, don't use me to raise the big flag. There are different opinions on this matter. Wearing a purple nightgown, Bibidong, who had just woken up, walked in. The Pope's quarters are located next door. The reason why Nangong Yi and Hulaina were not found abducted yesterday was because she slept all night in the government hall of the Pope's palace, which is still a bit far from here. Each has its own theory. Helena was taken aback, apparently hearing of such an operation for the first time. Of course, but if you want to call me Shushu, I don't object. Bibidong sat next to Helena. Everyone has their own opinions. Helena agreed. It feels strange to call such a child uncle or senior uncle. Especially when Nangong Yi gives her a feeling, there are many times when she doesn't seem like a child. It feels very similar to someone worshipped on the mountain. Then don't regret it, Nangong Yi said. Regret. Bibidong was taken aback. What can be regretted about this? It's nothing, just don't beat me up in the future, said Nangong Yi. His ability to recognize his elder sister and elder brother is not something that can be accomplished. After Emperor Jiawen III brought him back to Demacia, he originally intended to adopt him as an adopted son, but after he withdrew, he became Jiawen III's sworn brother. Because Emperor Jiawen IV had just been born at that time, if suddenly there were an adopted son like him who was even older than the legitimate prince, especially the son of the heavenly descent who brought victory to Demacia, there was a high possibility of some unexpected situations in the future. So, he became the brother of Emperor Jiawen III and the uncle of Emperor Jiawen IV. Beat you. Bibidong suddenly had a bad premonition. But before she could say anything, Nangong Yi spoke again, I think you should pay attention to your attire. The purple sheer pajamas were alluring at a glance, with a faint snow-white hue. In addition, Bibidong was already a top-notch beauty, with both indifference and charm coexisting. To be honest, it was not appropriate to wear them in front of him like this. Wearing it. Bibidong was taken aback and looked at his sheer pajamas. Usually, only she, Helena, and a dedicated maid can enter this area, so she is quite casual here. Today, she habitually dressed up like this and came out, but she forgot that there was a new person here. But, what should I pay attention to as a child like you? Bibidong said casually. What problem can a child who cannot even arouse evil thoughts with the power of the Rakshasa? Nangong Yi is still young, and even though there are differences between men and women, it is still a problem that only occurs in 2 years. Although she is extremely disgusted with men due to Qinshuan's illness, she still doesn't have much reaction to a 6-year-old child. And, based on what happened yesterday, her feelings for this child are pretty good. Is it difficult for you to? No, you misunderstood. I was worried that you would play hooliganism with me, Nangong Yi said. He used to think that playing hooligans was just a man-to-woman thing, but when he was in Ionia, he was tormented by a group of big-chested sisters. Later, he was brought back to Demacia by King Gavin III, and he was held by those noble ladies every day as a cat sucking. Really, this kind of thing is more than enough. At first, he may enjoy it, but over time, he always feels like he's been played with. Bibi glanced at the corner of his eye. She's playing hooliganism. She played hooliganism with a child. What kind of person is she? Abnormal. Isn't she just playing pranks with me now? Nangong Yi glanced at Helena, who was tightly hugging her. If you switch identities and become a man holding a girl like this, do you think it feels like a pervert? If a big man looks so sexy in front of a little girl, isn't it perverted? Compared to the color on the east side, there is a lag. What this child said makes sense, of course. I know this metaphor is a bit inappropriate, after all, the quality of appearance largely determines the nature of such things, added Nangong Yi. Handsome guys and beautiful women are naturally pleasing to the eye, so please make sure to continue to maintain them in the future. I support you. Speaking, Nangong Yi gave Bibidong a thumbs up. Bibidong's eyes twitched, and she suddenly felt that the child was a bit weak. But, this crazy girl, can you stop her? She keeps holding me like this, I feel very uncomfortable. Nangong Yi struggled hard, but unfortunately there was no response at all. This is not winter, it's very hot. Let go. End of this chapter.